Hello everyone, it's Ravenhawk here. Doing the first part of a new series I'm doing for Rome 2 Total War. I'm sure we're all big fans. I've been playing since the first Rome, was when I got really hooked. Dabbled on medieval, but really got hooked on the first Rome. Completed that on hard twice, I think. Also did Empire, obviously a bit of a black sheep, that one. I still enjoyed it, to be fair. I still enjoyed it, and I had the special edition pack with the HMS Victory, so I played as Britain first and dominated the campaign again on hard. I always play on hard. I do like to actually, so when I've done it with Britain, I did it with, I forget their names, the kind of, what the Germans used to be giving to P. Anyway, I forget the name, but they were a hard starting area as well as playing it in hard. I like to at least do the game once with one of the challenging starts. I've chosen Sparta here. I know a lot of people have, and it's, oh yeah, everyone's done Sparta, but I do generally like the Greek military that they had in that time, their tactics, just really like some Greek mythology, everything around Greek mythology, and yeah, I do like the film 300. Yes, I do. I really enjoyed it. Um, but yeah, I really like Sparta. I love Troy and the film Troy and everything. Anyway, so I've been playing for some time. I want to do a campaign tutorial around strategy and tactics and sort of, trading tricks, other little tricks of the trade that hopefully some of you may not be aware of, or, may have forgotten, or may, just basically just sort of show you my way of playing, because I'm a great fan of Heir of Carthage, and his videos are fantastic. The footage he gets is brilliant in the battles. So great fan, but he plays very, very fast. He's a very fast and more aggressive player than I am. I do tend to, I don't know how to, it's not being more tactically, because obviously Heir of Carthage is very tactical, but I kind of plan a bit slower. I think it's the only way to see it. Not boring, but I do other stuff, like for example here I took Thracia by making these two my client states, and there is quite a lot of reasoning behind this. Arde are my military alliance and Deorsi are a client state here. So I've got my stronghold down here. I did take Athens very quickly early on. I think they were fighting someone else, and I took advantage of that. Because you can't trade without a capital. You have to have a capital. It's the capital of Hellas, which is your sort of home province. So, a lot of people were talking about going up to Apollonia as its a port, but you still won't have any trade routes unless you had Pella. So I took Athene, Athens, whatever you want to call it, early on, got my trade routes set up. One of the most important things in the game is to get your trading set up. As you can see, those green ones mean I am trading. To give you a better overview of trade partners, we go into the main sort of diplomatic politics page, where it shows everything in a sort of what's the word I keep forgetting, snapshot of everything that's going on with your family, the politics side, and the progression of your empire. As you can see, I've got a good few trade partners there. Some of those weren't too happy at start to just trade, so there's a few tricks you can do to help that, encourage them to accept a trade. I'm at war with Briusi, which I instigated. Venetia were actually trading with me at one point, and for whatever reason, I think I upset them with the Briusi engagement, declared war on me. Deorsi, actually I think Brucia may have attacked Deorsi, and I defended Deorsi, and then Venetia declared war on me, and Deorsi and Arde have joined in. Odrysian haven't got involved yet. They don't have to. They're subjugated by me, so it's up to me to defend them. They pay me a like a sort of oh, what's it called? A sort of payoff, not a payoff, but a tribute. Sorry, a tribute for being defended by me. But they will fight with me as well. So that is kind of where I'm getting to with these client states. You see, a military alliance, you know, you have to join in with, they attack, you defend each other. There's always going to be a choice to join in with these ones, whereas your defensive states don't have to always get in the wars you're involved in. What else can I tell you? Absolutely, you know, you've got to choose your military alliance very carefully. You do not want some faction that is super aggressive, super unreliable, you know, is attacking anyone, and you know you keep getting asked whether you want to join it. If you say no, it breaks your alliance, and that's going to put your favour down with everyone else. Everyone else is going to see you as an unreliable person to alliance up with, trade with, everything. You have to watch, you know, the impact you have on things you do in the diplomacy page. You know, so for example, Egypt do not like the fact that I'm trading with Seleucid, and they didn't like my military action against Athens. They're still neutral because we have a cultural affinity, same culture. But so as you can see, Arde are my top military alliance, and you couldn't have asked for a better military ally. He's cautious and he's loyal. So he's loyal to his partnerships, meaning he won't just sort of turn tide, you know, break alliance, you know, easily. He's also cautious with how he expands and, you know, who he attacks. So a very good ally to have on your side. Seleucid obviously friendly. Brucey not happy with me at all. They didn't like, you know, they don't like my treaties with Diorsi, which I've got client state. Don't like me with Arde. So you've got to watch these sort of things. You know, that's what's made them so angry. Liguri really don't like the fact that I'm fighting Venetia. And the cultural version, I just think at some point there could be a fight there. BFE aren't too happy with me either, and I believe Getty will engage soon. So one thing I wanted to mention is I've obviously started this at turn 63 of my campaign because I really wanted to show you where I'd got into the game, how I, you know, and give you some insight from there rather than very slowly, you know, getting up to this sort of thing and learning it a bit myself. You know, although I've played before, there's a lot of new stuff. So I'm there now, you know, and I can show you a lot of things that I did to, or advice around, you know, why I did these things and how I've got such a strong position to kind of choose what I want to do now. This is also an important turn for another reason, which I'm going to show you now. Is obviously your objectives. Got 5 objectives here. This is the primary one. Maintain 60 units, so I've got 53 in total. Okay. Now your bonus objectives, you can try to do all of them, but as soon as you do the primary, you're going to collect on these ones, whether you've done them or not. So, you know, for example, I've got 7 out of the 10 Spartan hoplites. If I completed that, I would not get my 2,500 gold, but I will do the Fall of Macedon, whichever one you want to use. Completed 3,500. Sorry, Fall of Macedon 5,000, 3,000. So 8,500, and I've done that. Completely control at least one of the following provinces, which I did with Thracia and the subjugation of Adresian. So another 4,000. So 12.5. Is it 12.5? So, and then with that it would be 15. And then with that, 20. So I believe this actually completes at the end of this turn, which will show you me getting a rather large wedge of gold, which anyone who plays Total War knows is an important thing to have. Buildings start to get very expensive, especially the important ones like these growth ones. You know, they're 5k a piece now. They're saying now I still need the technology research to get that. Which I will do, which is temple. For me, it's temple design I need. But at this time, I wouldn't want to go up to level 4 anyway. It's 8 food minus 10 public orders to Squalor. Squalor is probably one of the most challenging things for managing in your towns. You know, most of the buildings will come with a Squalor penalty or a food penalty. That's got both. It's got food penalty, Squalor. These are the ones that are happiness ones. This one comes with food, but comes with a Squalor. These water ones I think are good, but then they take food, Squalor. It's quite often it's the second element of the building, the second stage of the building or upgrade that kicks in the squalor. So you know it's something you've really got to keep an eye on, and that's where obviously managing the right people within your provinces comes into play. You know, for example, I'm getting +3 public order, plus security from, I think it's the champion here, is boosting their happiness, my general is boosting, and my diplomat is currently administration, advises local officials, increasing tax, and protecting settlements against authoritarian agent actions. The diplomats will reduce culture within an enemy state as well, which is really good. If they're a completely different culture, that's, you know, going to make a big impact. If you take them where they're on 100% Celtic and you go in and you know, take their town, they're going to be very unhappy for quite a few turns and probably revolt. So you need to, you know, soften that up a little bit with a diplomat and reduce it. There's certain generals that get bonuses to being in an area with an opposite culture and reduce the unhappiness. Your spies and champs can obviously, the spy is, you know, providing military intelligence or will damage buildings, etc., poison wells. Your champion will demoralize or boost your morale, I suppose, in your cities if he's in your ones. So that was a quick run over though that element. Trading, as you can see, income's looking quite healthy, although it's including that at the moment. So my actual next turn income will be 4,372. You can see I've got a nice healthy surplus of food that gives me really good unit replenishment and growth across all provinces. Although saying that, growth is still a major challenge. You have to really keep an eye on it. Although saying that, I'll probably grow my cities pretty quick. You know, the thing is, I don't even know. I'm assuming it can get bigger if I take the capital sort of building up. But as you can see, it's quite large already. You've got corruption. I get a bonus to slave population as well, that they won't become reduces sort of the unhappiness of people having a slave population, and then increases my economic effect, so I get more money from that. Taxes, you know, they're a good one to manage up and down depending on happiness. You know, if you get in real trouble, you know, you might have to think about bringing this down to low for a turn or two, where you get things under control with some building types or get some characters in there. So that's one way to control, you know, happiness and things like that. So growth, you know, is still at 0 here, but like I say, they're at quite a large size already. But it does become an issue eventually if you don't keep growing. It will just increase squalor. Okay, so we've got turns times. Obviously you've got your research here. I've done a little bit there in military. You kind of got to balance it with making sure your troops are getting upgraded, along with making sure that you're keeping up with the building development and don't fall behind there, because then you're just having an unhappy populace while you're stomping around in enemy land, and that just causes even more problems behind you. So this is where I kind of like to, you know, play. I love the management element. I love, you know, having client states, and you know, my reasoning behind this, and as you know, this is the overview map. My reasoning behind this is that's a buffer. You know, anyone now who wants to try and attack me has to come through my military alliance, my client states. So whenever I want to fight anyone in the north now, they're probably going to be fighting me and at least one of my client states or allies. So 2 armies is always better than 1. So it gives me a very, very strong position to decide what I want to do military campaign wise. I've got to take Italia, Syria and Persis. Where is it? Oh, Persis over here. So, you know, I'm going to, at some point I'm going to be pushing through to get these. So I want my north, you know, don't want to be stressing about getting an attack from the north. You know, I will leave a garrison up here to work with my allies, but it'll give me plenty of time to push this way. Rome obviously is a tricky one. They're very strong at it. You know, they're not expanding much, but they're solid. You know, they've got some decent units. Um, so we'll see how that pans out. They're actually fairly friendly with me at the moment. We'll see how that goes. What I want to talk to you about now, actually what I will go through quickly is this is obviously a good way to just get a feel for how everything's going, you know, your faction ownership, your friendlies, um, and different areas and factions that are currently you are aware of, which I'm going to give you a little tip as well on how to increase you know, the amount of factions you're aware of, because the more factions you're aware of, the more people you can trade with. So it can be very useful early on when there's hardly anyone to trade with, so it'll give you a little booster to get money early on and get ahead of everyone else. Diplomatic status, obviously friendly, allies, me, unhappy people at war with, and just neutrals in general. Okay, this one gives you a very good overview of your public order. Obviously it's fairly solid here. It is in the red, but I know that these are on the up. But you know, it just means you've got to keep an attention on those, that they don't start reducing and heading towards revolt again. My wealth's obviously not too shabby, partly to do with that trick I'll show you with the trade and getting factions. Growth, obviously, like I say, bane of my life still. I'm working on this, developing another buildings that will increase growth. Now, just before I leave here, that's a war target I've set for my ally. Venetia obviously declared war on me when I was fighting up here with Briusi. I did not really have an army down here. Obviously you're garrisoned, but they were moving some pretty sizable fleets with very large armies down here. And my ally has absolutely kept them at bay by selecting war targets. You'll see later on, because in part 2 I move forward to where I'm real time actually at in the campaign, which is about turn 80, and from there obviously all the parts and part of the series will be in real time turns. But like I say, this was an important turn, and to start the sort of tutorial, it shows you a lot of what's going on. Yeah, so they're pushing down. So what I've done, and a lot of people also don't realise this, is when you're selecting a war target, I think I may have explained this in part 2 as well, I don't know. You can select a fleet, you can select an army, you can select a town. You do not have to just select, you know, a town like that. You know, you just double click while you're in war target mode and find it, or stay with that kind of, it's like a crosshairs, and you just select, you know, whatever you want. And then you see that Golden Eagle means that they are a ally war target. They've been accepted by Arde, and Arde are going to do a stunning job pushing up this way. I'm going to continue to set war targets, and Arde are going to push up there. And lucky for me, they're quite happy to do that because they joined the war with me. Because we're like blood brothers. You know, I'll do anything for them, they'll do anything for me. So this is the one who's got a huge army on it. They're not, you know, super tough, but these guys aren't, you know, a walkover either. They've got fairly good weapon damage. Spartan obviously very defensive, but these guys, I think they can frenzy as well, and that frenzy can be quite nasty. So I don't want this landing end off basically anywhere. I'll help Arde if it lands on their shores, but so we have pretty much surrounded this. As you can see, if they get in any kind of engagement with me, I'll have 3 fleets joining in with me, and if they get attacked, we'll all join in as well. So I'm hoping that they won't be going anywhere further. They'll be going back that way, and we can continue to push them back, as you'll see in part 2, where they've been decimated pretty much. So let's show you this trade trick anyway, that I was mentioning to you. So the only thing that stops you being able to trade with, you know, more, well, it's not the only thing, more factions, is your ability to be aware of them. So what I often do early on in the game is get your first ship and take them all around the coastline. You know, try not to aggravate anyone. Doesn't usually, I don't think. Not going to be there long enough to cause any trouble. But it will usually, I've already sort of done most of those, but I think I'd already unveiled that. Who's that? NASA, yeah, so you'll see. But it will, you know, you'll probably get 1 or 2 new factions a turn every coastline, you know, so every turn you travel along that coastline, especially if you've got, you know, the increased speed on, double time, you know, you're going to get 1 or 2 factions you can trade with each time. They may ask to trade with you, you can trade with them, and you know, there's various ways, like I say, to make sure that they would say yes. I don't want to trade with them because it'll upset some of my other people. They're obviously extremely unhappy, so I don't want to trade with them. But you know, for example, Sardays, you know, if you did want to, they won't because they're a client state and I'm already trading with their sort of owner. That's why I believe that this one will not trade no matter what.
For the sake of friendship that has been
that's not
and
wrong.
friendship to come.
But yeah, and that's the other thing, you can't really do anything
Let
but
us
trade
seek
agreement or
wisdom
payments
together.
with them. So there's no other way of, you know, non-aggression pacts because they're owned, they're subjugated, like I said. But, you know, to increase your chances, you want to be doing your non-aggression pacts initially, build a bit of friendship, add a payment in there, you know, up to about maybe 500 to start with, see if they, sometimes they'll come back and, you know, say an offer, okay, you've given us $1,000, you know, we'll trade with you. You can see how much that, you know, trade is worth to you, 246 of trading gold per turn. So you want to evaluate, you know, how much money they're asking for and how much time it will take you to recoup that by being in trade with them. But these are very important, you know, it is very important to set as many of these up. So try and build relationships with non-aggression pacts. If need be, give them a bit of money, just a bit of money, to, you know, make them more in your favor and more likely to want to trade with you and what have you. Now, another thing about giving money out is Daorsi have obviously got a money problem. This is what I understand here, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Their army is just having attrition while it's in home territory. Um, this continues. It's a bit like Biefi over here, I think they're doing. Or Bithiethian. They've been like this for turns. They're not being attacked. They're not, you know, under attack from anyone. They're just not in a good place. And I'm assuming that's financially. They're either, you know, not got enough growth and it's affecting their troop, or there's squalor, you know, something's massively bringing them down. Now, what I do know is that if you give, and you have reason to, give some money to these states, especially if you know it's in your interest to do that, and it's in my interest to get these guys a little bit stronger, so that when they fight, they, you know, are not just going to run away. I do know that if you give them some money, it will pull them out of that trouble they're in. And I don't mean 200 gold. Usually a grand, 2 grand, 2,000 gold. Sorry, 1,500 gold. So I'm actually just going to give them that. I'm quite sure why it's not letting me do that. Oh, sorry, yeah, stupid. So I'm just going to give them. I'm going to give them that. So they'll obviously accept that.
You bring joy to my heart and hope to my soul. My thanks.
So obviously they're very pleased. I don't think we'll see it in the next turn that has boosted them, but definitely 2 to 3 turns in, you'll hopefully see that they are suddenly on the build again, and things are happening, and troops are developing, and although they're very happy with me anyway, you do get a boost to that. So gifts given to Daorsi is 10, happiness 10 there. So it's boosted our relationship as well, obviously. Okay. Just trying to think if there's much more I can tell you on this turn and show you. Showing you the war targets. I've shown you ways to defog factions early on so you can trade with them. Oh, I tell you what I need to do. Make sure I'm developing enough. I could do that next turn, can't I? Just kick off that bonus objective. Anyway, so yeah, that's where we're at. Just a quick rundown. You've got to tailor your generals. You've got to decide, are they going to be sitting in a town buffing those, buffing their happiness? Are they going to be an aggressive army general that, boosts his troops and, you know, gets loads of benefits that way, but is not the best person to sit in a town? Because then obviously you bring up your happiness general to handle those sort of things with cultural boosters and stuff. Again, you obviously don't have to if you've got a champion and a diplomat that can also, increase happiness when you first take a town. For example, I took a town in a few turns' time, Brundisium, because Venetia take it in panic from Rome. They're in a weakened position, and I loot it. Now, normally if you loot a town, they're going to revolt. You've got about 4, maybe 5 turns before they'll revolt. And remember, you've got to knock their buildings down. You've got to rebuild your happiness ones. You've got to get them out of that feeling of just being conquered. But there are ways. This Brundisium did not end up revolting. It's touch and go. I think it went down to maybe 1 turn or 2 turns, but I knew that. And I put the right people in the town, the right buildings up, and they're now on the up, becoming happy Spartans. So, you do have to think about that. These are the sort of things I like to think about, play it sort of that strategic way around the town management. It is an important part of the game. This goes wrong, you're going to have major problems, major issues. Again, with trade, if you're not making enough money, you're going to have major issues later on when your armies, you've got to pay a lot of money for these armies, the upkeep, 3,763 for my army upkeep, 1.5, so I'm building, I actually need to build more, better ships actually, but I haven't been doing much of the sea engagements because they're very buggy. Those sort of standard troop ships say that if you auto-resolved it, you would automatically win. But if you don't, they absolutely annihilate you if you don't auto-resolve it. They literally just ram into you, smash all your ships up, even though you were apparently dominating them if you auto-resolve. So, yeah, not too happy with the sea engagements at the moment. I'm not sure if that latest one did fix it or not. What else? And lastly, I think I'll just tell you, before I start, this gets a bit too wordy, boring if it's not already there. But this is a tutorial. I want to give you this first part as more insight into a number of things that you can do and I did and reasons why and where I'm at. This guy's in defensive stance.
Ready for orders.
Not sure if everyone's seen it, but that is quite a strong stance to be in, especially if you're in a territory where there's 2-3 armies. You're on your own. You've not got reinforcements in range. Go defensive. They engage you. It builds a fort around you, and this is not some twig fort. It's actually quite a strong fort. You can put traps around it, fire traps, caltrops for slowing horses down, barriers up, which you can put in front of the... There's 3 doorways, 3 entrances, but you can barricade up 2 of them, and then slow them down as they're coming in because they have to knock these barricades down, and you can just absolutely pummel them with your missile troops as they're approaching, as they're coming into that barricade. Then they just funnel into just absolute annihilation. You can just slam into the sides of them and flanks while they're pouring into the middle, and before I know it, they're just routing out the door as fast as they came in. Well, not as fast as they came in because they didn't come in that fast because they were trying to take your barricades down, but if they did come in the one door where you didn't have the barricades, they definitely leave as fast as they came in because you're just smashing into the sides of them, constantly hitting with missiles. You're in your fort. Not lucky enough for them to go over my fire pits yet, so I haven't seen that, but I imagine it's quite fun to see you ignite them with your own arrows or own fire arrows, or send a troop out to throw fire pots at it to ignite it. And if you're lucky enough for them to go over it, except you see some fairly good fireworks and people running around on fire. So it's well worth being in this mode. It gives you some great boosts, absolutely great boosts. Not that you get brimstone pits, that's it. caltrops, 10% melee defense, 2 barricades, plus 50 percent reinforcement range, so you're more likely to get reinforced anyway, and you get the fortified encampment, which all looks great. And I've already beaten back 2 of these big Brucia armies by being in this stance. They came at me at the same time, and now this was what they looked like after they hit that army, basically. They and these were 2, sizable armies. They definitely got the hurt put on them. I've taken a bit of a, I've taken a dent, but I'm still strong. There's one of their armies that's not been touched yet. Not sure if they'll want to throw themselves at me again. We'll see. So I think that just about wraps it up for this turn. So we'll just see how it pans out. I do normally like to have the intel thing on, but as you'll know, once it gets up to all the factions, it just gets silly slow. Even if you just have a, well, it's not that bad with that. They have a setting now for little information or all information or none, and I had it on little, and it wasn't that bad. It wasn't painful, but there's still a lot of factions to come, so it could get really painful still. So I think I switched it off anyway for recording. So I'm going to end this turn. This is part 1 of Ravenhawk's campaign strategy and tactics tutorial. And what I'll do is I'm just going to take part 1 into the next turn as well, and then end of part 1 we'll be moving on to part 2 that's live online on YouTube, to see where some of the decisions that I made here have got me further on in turn 80. And like I said, we'll be playing real time from there, so I hope you'll excuse me, I hope you'll stick with me and continue to watch the series. I'm only a small channel, so your support is really appreciated, so any thumbs up, subscriptions, any criticisms, what am I doing wrong? I really want to try and build my channel if I can. Sure, everyone does if they've got a channel. It's the point of doing it, isn't it? But I love making the videos. I love the games that I play. I'm a big PlanetSide 2 fan. I love strategy games. I love massive multiplayer online games. Love some of the more deeper first-person shooters. God, get it out there. BioShock, things like that. Mass Effect, where they've got a good storyline supporting them as well. Fallout, love Fallout and Skyrim and Oblivion, those types of games. So just really want to sort of showcase some of the stuff that I play and how I play it, and particularly games like this, Rome 2. I think I'm sure you've watched Air of Carthage. It's really entertaining, even though he's more aggressive and he focuses more aggressively to be entertaining. I'm hoping that my style will still be worth watching. It's not too slow, as I'll show you it later as we get to part 2 and part 3. But yeah, I hope you stick with me, and I hope I grab some subscribers with this new series. So thanks for watching if you watch this one, and I'll probably turn part 1 into part 1.5 as a filler, but we'll see. Hopefully see you again soon, and I hope some of the tips I gave you today were useful, especially if you're a beginner or even intermediate. Some of the stuff I'll be, you'll be seeing will, maybe even good for some of the veteran players. I'm still learning, it's one of those games. Still haven't quite got my head around the politics side. Cover a bit of that in part 2, you'll see. But I have found a few tricks there. Yeah, so, I'm thick-skinned, I can take criticism, and I'm happy, really want some advice if anyone's got any advice around the politics side, and, do leave comments, and I will read and respond, as long as you're not outright insulting me. Anyway, thanks guys, and girls, if you're watching, and hope to see you again soon. Just going to end this turn and see how it pans out, but I'll show that at the start of the next video. Okay.